Removed from the line of succession, King Charles is finally under pressure to reveal the sad truth about Meghan's fake children. Meghan is so thrilled that her children are in a relationship with King Charles. But nothing about her late Majesty the Queen. Again, Meghan Markle is just trying to tug at King's heart. Now, I don't think there could be any revelations that could actually bring down the monarchy, but I suspect they might be able to shake it up. It is possible, even probable, that if the king proves to be complicit in all this, he could be called upon to resign or abdicate in favor of Prince William. I mean, it's just a thought that happened, but I think it's time for the British public to find out the truth about these children. If the rumors are true, and I'm not really convinced, it will definitely affect the line of succession. Whatever is said to the media on both sides, whether it's the king wanting to offer an olive branch or claiming that he wants invisible children to profit from an affair with Charles, is a load of nonsense. Charles knows that news of his use of surrogates will soon spread. This is the only argument that still causes royalty. Quite a puzzle, they'll have to find a way to deal with it, but they have to do it in a way that the audience is led to believe that they were never involved in this deception. Now I understand there is a lot of hatred in the family towards Meghan for always subjecting them to such a mess of gigantic proportions. This shakes up the monarchy almost on a daily basis. Now everyone in the building has a good idea of how Meghan should be handled. The courtiers, led by Nicholas Shames, would much rather the media stop writing about Harry and Mac. They try to convince the king that given enough time the public will once again be quiet and submissive. But Queen Camilla, William and Catherine are completely on the other side. They want to see Meghan and Harry face off decisively to end their games forever. King Charles is a very kind and caring person who just wants a quiet life, and can really blame him. I would like to see him be able to enjoy his coronation with his people, and then I hope he goes to the jugular. As for Meghan and Harry, Camilla, William and Catherine, they need to figure out the truth about the invisible children, the surrogate mothers, the bullying report, and pretty much everything else needs to be made public. Everyone is just sick of Meghan's bullshit. If the truth can finally come out, and Meghan and Harry will be left to stew in their own juices. And I'm sure there will be anger and turmoil at first, but there will be. It's the truth, and they believe the family was duped early on, and when they figured out what was really going on, they were pretty much caught between a rock and a hard place. I suspect the public will eventually forgive the royal family because they were actually victims of the scam that Her late Majesty the Queen controlled the narrative at the time. Charles must finish what should have already started. I think this could be the bombshell Meghan wants to detonate just before her coronation, so it's important that Charles doesn't wait another second. Must be proactive in the situation. He doesn't have to wait for anything else to happen. Now there's going to be a lot of media attention, no doubt, but ultimately the sooner, the better. The palace reveals the truth about surrogacy. The sooner the family can begin the healing process. Meghan will hit back, but I still think the royals can slam the door in her face and walk away. No King Charles money, even for Meghan after this divorce, and hopefully never again will it be time to shut everything down and move on. It's the best way to deal with someone as toxic as Meghan. There is information as well as photos of when Meghan was mentioned pregnant with both children, and other comments, suggestions, etc. A drastic change in the size of the baby bump. Now regarding the birth, Certified searched a long time trying to find the correct birth information. There were actually quite a variety of names and multiple counties indicating that Lily's Bet was in fact born there. There is also plenty of information from people who have worked in hospitals or knew people who have worked in hospitals who have never seen or even heard of Meghan or others in labor. There was husband of a doctor who even came out to acknowledge that his wife simply, even though she qualified as a delivery doctor. Archie and Lily's birth announcements weren't signed by a doctor, and the family's announcement never even acknowledged that the creation actually gave birth to either of them. Children. So in no particular order, this list is going to be long enough without trying to organize the list. But I'll still try to label anything that isn't self-explanatory. Then Archie's first look where Harry said, "Oh yeah, babies change a lot in 2 weeks." It was a weird thing to say, and the baby was being pushed so hard that Harry's thumb looked white. But the strange thing was that the alleged child never moved. He never changed position and never cried. I'm sure it would have hurt if Harry pressed so hard that his thumb turned white. Now, the baby here is compared to a reborn doll named Darren at Archie's christening. Catherine was seen in a recap. Blue dress. But then there's a Photoshop photo of her wearing red or hot pink, it's hard to understand. Finally, they claimed when they moved away from their positions in the royal family. They wanted to do it partly because they wanted to give Archie a normal childhood. Now they had decided early on that they didn't want to accept a title for him so he could enjoy a normal life. If that was really why they left, then why would they lie that they were pregnant and not use surrogates? It doesn't make sense if they had all this trouble having kids and all they really wanted was to just have a normal family. They would have nothing to hide. So that leads us to believe that they had more in mind than just having those babies they so desperately wanted. I might also add that neighbors and other people living in the community did not see any children. They saw no toys, no trace of children. So these are babies that no one can even find any evidence of, and no one can find any evidence that they were actually born to Meghan in a hospital. Also the surrogate doctor, in place of those of the royal family, always resorted. I guess the royal family has access to the best doctors, nurses, midwives and hospitals in the world. And sadly, I don't think it's that simple for the king to come out and reveal the truth about those invisible children. After all, people are already calling him a racist and many other things. Thank you, Monty. So if Charles brings it up first, he will be seen as a racist and an even bigger liar. Instead, it must be brought up by someone who cannot be accused of having a diary, and anyone who can provide this information must have real proof that Meghan and Harry lied about the births. Perhaps the biological mother or mothers. I'm sure they were forced to sign, so maybe they can't legally speak, but I guess family and friends of these mothers can speak for them. The Queen knew it. I'm sure everything there was to know before they let her join the family. I'm sure he wanted to know if Meghan had any real skeletons that could have affected the family, and I suspect Harry and Meghan had a really quick wedding somewhere before they even asked permission from the Queen and saw that he would then have been too late for the late Queen to say no, which is why Meghan didn't even seem to care that the wedding had a world pageant, and she will make sure every detail is perfect, especially a dress bride. Come on. I think the royals were as surprised as all of us when the first pregnancy announcement happened. What should they have done then? I mean, could they really come out and accuse Harry of lying and helping Meghan? Once the truth about surrogacy comes out, the family will have a very good reason why they stayed silent, and I think they are unlikely to use Harry's or Meghan's sanity to explain why. They felt unable to say. Nothing for me. The most likely scenario is that the royal family realized Harry had serious mental health issues and were unsure at first. If only he knew the pregnancy was a big lie, or maybe they'll say he was so desperate to have kids that he feared what would happen to her if they hadn't just kept quiet. On surrogacy, the family could do a lot of good PR, and they could release some things so that in the end it makes them really look good. And it may have been the late Queen who insisted that all those surrogacy rumors be silenced. I suspect that Charles just followed his mother's orders, and now maybe he doesn't know how to get out of this mess. When was he born? The congratulations weren't staged in a way that would lead us to believe that Meghan even gave birth to the baby and that all the doctor's information wasn't delivered. The baby fled, and the royal family never came out and discarded it. So I think they are preparing for release, and I suspect everyone will be relieved when all the lies finally come out. They can only deal with the backlash and then move on. Once the royal family, we are just trying to protect their family, and people who sympathize with the family will support them. And as for the people who don't support them, they're probably best ignored anyway.